Having a child with a chronic epilepsy is one of the most tragic, grief-inducing, traumatising experiences that I could ever imagine. You know, I would not wish it on my worst enemy. It's so painful. Anyone that has children, you know, even the thought of it would make them feel upset, you know. But I have drawn a lot of positivity from it. I've learnt to be resilient. I've learnt to love more than anything. I've learnt not to sweat the small stuff. I've learnt to fight. I've learnt to hope. You know, I've learnt that he matters. My children matter to me more than anything, and so does my partner. And I think sometimes, I remember meeting a woman in a cafe, and her husband sadly injured his spine falling from scaffolding, and he was, you know, disabled from it. And I remember, I'd never forget, she said to me, "But darling, we know what matters in life." And it's so true. Sometimes when you have tragedy hit you, it teaches you so many positive lessons, and that's, you know, what I try to do with what's happened to me. You know, I feel so much grief still about Alfie. I don't know what's going to happen to him. I worry sick about him having terrible seizures again and not being able to control them like we have with cannabis. But if I can do something that helps other people because of that tragedy in my life, well, what a positive, wonderful thing that he's helped me to do. And I think that you don't know where you'd be if things were different. So it's about seeing positivity through, you know, what life has thrown at you, definitely. My son was born perfectly well. He had his first refractory epilepsy seizures at 8 months old, where we were in hospital for 4 months. He only responded to intravenous steroids. We tried, you know, lots of anti-epileptics, lots of other drugs. He had no diagnosis. You know, doctors didn't know how to deal with him. It was very, very traumatic, very difficult time, and he continued to have these clusters of seizures until he was 4 years old. So he doesn't have seizures every day. He has clustering epilepsy, so they're just very big seizures, back-to-back seizures, but then sometimes he would go times without having any seizures. So it's a very, very unique condition in that sense. And then by the time he was 4, he was having clusters every 3 weeks. And then by the time he was 5, it was every week. So his condition was just getting worse and worse. At that time, he was then diagnosed with something called PCDH19 epilepsy, which consists of mild to severe learning delay, behaviour problems which develop with age, so quite aggressive behaviour, the way it affects the brain, and also these very severe clusters of seizures that if they're not treated quickly, in Alfie's case with intravenous steroids, they can become so bad that he'd have to be on a life support machine. So, you know, very, very severe condition. And we also found out that it's non-inherited, so I don't have it and his dad doesn't have it. So no one could tell us how to treat it. There's 9 boys in the world with it. There's about 20,000 girls with it. So a very rare condition in the world. And when our doctors told us that, I just thought, well, I probably know his condition better than anyone. Doctors don't know what to do with him. All they were doing is filling him full of steroids when he was having clusters, filling him full of rescue meds. And when he started having seizures every week at 5, that meant that I was taking him into hospital in an ambulance at 2, 3 in the morning, filling him full of steroids, trying to get an IV into him, which, if anyone's ever done that, is very traumatic with a child that's getting older and more cognitively aware. It was, I mean, the way I've seen him treated, you wouldn't treat a dog like that. And it was because doctors had to get on and get things done quickly and get medicine into him quickly. But he was traumatised and we were traumatised, and it was just a very, very horrendous time. And when we had that diagnosis, I realised that actually, you know, maybe I need to try and help him rather than relying on doctors. And I just started to do research. I needed hope. You know, the most important thing having a child with epilepsy is hope. When you lose hope, then it is very, very hard. So I just went onto the internet and started to Google natural methods of replacing steroids, natural methods of treating epilepsy, and cannabis just kept coming up. And I'll be completely honest, at first when I saw that, I thought, well, that's just something that gets you high, it's not a medicine. And then I did more and more research. I looked at YouTube videos, I read, you know, books, I spoke to parents all over the world, I joined Facebook groups, CBD Facebook groups, I immersed myself in learning, and cannabis just kept coming up as something to use. And that's why in 2017, after raising money and starting our petition, we went and travelled to Holland to try medical cannabis with Alfie for the first time. When we were in Holland, we did 5 months. We worked with a paediatric neurologist. He was prescribed Bedrolite and Bedica, which is a high-strength full extract CBD product and a THC, indica THC product. And he had a very small amount of extra THC and mostly very high CBD. And after 6 weeks, he went 17 days without a seizure. And as we went on, he just went longer and longer without seizures. And what we also noticed is when he did have a cluster, they were much easier to stop. He got over them a lot quicker, and we needed to use a lot less pharmaceuticals. And I think, that's what's really important to remember. Alfie has a very severe genetic epilepsy. It's not going to go away. It's not going to be cured. But what we have found is something that gives him an immense quality of life. I was a full-time carer earning £60 a week, pretty much working 24/7 looking after him. My partner was working full-time trying to keep a roof over our head. Cannabis has given us all a new quality of life. So it was amazing, but we didn't want to live in Holland. I don't speak Dutch. I don't know anyone in Holland, and I didn't want to live there. I wanted to live in the country that I grew up in. So in February 2018, we made the decision to come home. We took Alfie off the products. He became quite poorly again when we got home, but I wanted to fight for my right to use this product in the UK. I realised that it was available all over the world, for many patients, and I thought, well, the UK should have it available as well. We were very lucky to connect with End Our Pain, which is a lobby group on medical cannabis. We were put in touch with them by a friend of a friend, and I knew what I wanted to say. I had my petition. I knew who I needed to speak to, which was the Prime Minister, which was MPs, which was lobbying, being in the media, but I didn't know how to do that. And that's what they helped us to do. They built a strategy around our campaign. So I'm forever grateful to them. And basically we were just very lucky that the public really do believe in medical cannabis and really wanted to, get behind us. And actually all the people I came into contact with in the media, the interviews I did, I started in February 2018 with my interviews, and everyone I met, I don't think they were just being polite, they were very supportive. We in the end met the Prime Minister, Theresa May at the time, who allowed us to apply for a licence, and that's when I met Professor Mike Barnes, who worked with the Home Office for 3 months, applied for the licence, and that was issued on the 18th of June 2018, which was amazing. And then it was an NHS prescription was issued on the 7th of July, the first one, once we got the product into the country legally. So it was an amazing journey, and to think that we turned around the viewpoint of the Home Office within 3.5 months was pretty good. So it was pretty successful. And then obviously the law changed on the 1st of November 2018, and unfortunately since then, millions of patients have been let down, and I continue now to work on that side of things to try and make it fair. I remember when we first went to see Alfie's paediatric neurologist in the NHS when we got back from Holland, and like my partner Drew said, he's like, why aren't you excited about this? This product has stopped our child's seizures. He was having 500 seizures a month and now he's not having any. You should be really excited about this, and you're absolutely right. I think a lot of it is fear, it's stigma. We've had a really effective anti-cannabis campaign for many years in the UK, and doctors have heard that and have read it. There is no education for medical students in the endocannabinoid system in a plant that is a medicine. That's to do with the fact that big pharmaceutical companies are basically producing single compound pharmaceuticals as medicines, and the cannabis plant doesn't fit into that model. It's to do with NICE expecting randomised controlled trials, and actually what I would love to see is NICE accepting the exceptionality of this plant and saying, okay, well, what framework can we create that makes it safe, that looks at observational data, that looks at the anecdote, because actually there's thousands of anecdotes and that becomes fact at some point, and that is really exciting data that should be being collected rather than being ignored. So I think there's lots of reasons, and mainly as well, I'm afraid to say that there's no one that seems to be in this current government that cares enough and actually wants to step above the parapet and go, do you know what, this is the right thing to do. And that's what we saw, not necessarily with Theresa May, I don't think, but we saw that with Sajid Javid. I think he stood up and said, you know what, this is the right thing to do. And he moved it into and as soon as it moved from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 2 and went into health, that's when we saw a problem, because Matt Hancock, I've met him a few times and I don't feel he grasps the enormity of the fact that many families are having to find thousands of pounds a month to pay for full plant product that they want to use with their children, that they see massive benefits. there's a lot of fear. This isn't a single compound, this hasn't been through randomised trials, so we can't use it. And actually, if you look at PubMed, statins were licensed with 5,000 citations on PubMed. There's 40,000 citations in cannabis on PubMed, and it's not licensed. There's a reason for that, because it is something that can't be patented as well. It can't be patented. So who's going to spend millions of pounds on trials when they can't patent the product to the end? So I think there's a lot of reasons why, but the most important thing for me is that it's not about the patient. It's about money, it's about data, it's about, all big pharmaceutical companies, there are loads of different reasons, but the most important person in the middle is the patient. And actually, yes, they have to be safe. Yes, we have to do research. Yes, we need to understand the entourage effect better. Yes, we need to understand the other compounds of the plant. But we know enough to be prescribing now and learning as we go along, and that's just not happening in this country. And I will continue to do as much as I can to help that to happen, because I feel so strongly about it after seeing what's happened to my child. Maple Tree is a business that Professor Mike Barnes and I run together. The idea behind it basically is we were both getting asked all the time to talk to companies who wanted advice on patient access, on development of products, on, I suppose, the landscape, on the science. And we just decided to do it together because we're really good friends and we get on well and it makes sense to work together. But also for me, I have met, on this journey, a huge amount of people that I believe are in the cannabis space for the wrong reasons. I am a mother of a refractory epileptic, and I want to create, a cannabis sector that is about patients, that is about focused on, what can we deliver to patients that helps them? What can we do to support, at the moment we see a private sector emerging, which is inevitable because unfortunately the NHS aren't prescribing. I think it's incredibly sad because there is, a lot of people out there that simply can't afford to pay for products or don't have the wherewithal to fundraise or just can't do it. And, I want to create a sector that is about the patient. And I'm very fearful that actually there's a lot of people that want to create a sector about money. And that's, I have no problem with people earning money. I have to earn money to look after my children and keep a roof above my head, especially as my partner is a landscape gardener and his back's giving in at 42 years old. He's suffering from what he's done. So, I feel very strongly that I have the right to have a career and earn money, and I want to do it in an ethical way, and I want to work with organisations that want to do it in an ethical way. So that was the sort of brainchild behind Maple Tree, is Mike and I said, actually, let's try and make it the way we think it should be. So that's the point. And we work with amazing companies who are startups or who are developed. We support them in basically from the embryonic stage right through into developing products, into thinking about their end user, all that sort of thing. And it's really interesting work. It's very variable and I really enjoy it. And for me, it's about ensuring that patients have access to medicine that is stable, that is safe, and that is affordable. I'd like to see NHS prescriptions, and that's what Mike and I work on a lot of the time. That's the whole point of Maple Tree, is to try and develop companies who are going to be, used by the NHS. But that is going to take time. That is going to take time, and until that point, let's try and make it available and affordable to patients.
My name is Sam Cannon and I am the founder of Beyond Green. On the 2nd and 3rd of December this year, the UN will vote on the World Health Organization's recommendation on the rescheduling of cannabis. This is a mammoth moment in time. Please like, comment and share these videos so that the truth can be told and that the planet and everybody on it can benefit from this truly, truly incredible plant once again. Thank you.